I would say my 12th year was a transformational watershed year for me. The age of 12, um, that was the first time that as a Boy Scout, I was Fourth Kandy Boy Scout troop at St. Anthony's College in the hill town of Kandy. Went to Jaffna for a whole camping trip. So that was the first time I went without my parents. It just opened up my eyes. Jaffna was like a different country, even though it was in Sri Lanka. It's in the northern part of Sri Lanka. So that really opened up my eyes. The second thing was that I was taught in the Sunday school by a Buddhist monk the three basic foundational characteristics of life. That's that life is impermanent and uncertain. So that is uh, that is called anicca. Then the other one is dukkha. That dukkha, the suffering and the unsatisfactoriness of life comes from the fact that everything is impermanent and uncertain. Because our minds are, it's a paradox, it's a contradiction, really. We like to hang on to things, we don't like change. So change upsets us. At the same time, we are also on the other side of the coin, we are also innovators. So there's a real paradox, contradiction that's happening here. So if you're not aware and mindful, that's what kind of brings on the suffering too. So that impermanence and the suffering then has in addition to that, there's a third one called anatta, and that is commonly known as non-self. I don't think it's a good word to describe it with, but non-self is the fact that this body is a fleeting sensation. It's a phenomenon. It's born, it lives, and then it dies. That we should not be attached to it. So there is really no self as such that I can be attached to, and that does bring on suffering because I go through the cycle of being born and getting ill and not getting what I want. So these three foundational characteristics of life inform me for the rest of my life, which I think has enabled me to put things in a better perspective. So the third thing the monk taught me in Sunday school was to meditate. And I naturally, I'm all over the map. My mind flits all over, and in modern parlance, I would say it's called ADHD. I can't stay in one place. So the first time that he guided me and myself and a few other friends through a meditation, I came to a space of complete calm that I couldn't believe uh, that calmness was within me. My parents were both meditators. Rather, my father was a meditator. Both of my parents were teachers, and I immediately went to my father and spoke about this. And they followed Buddhist teachings as a philosophy, as a practice, as a way of life, as a psychology of the mind, and inquiring into the psychology of the mind. So them being teachers and philosophers, they took that path, and I was very much influenced by that. So then the other thing, there were four other aspects that I was taught in the Sunday school. They were called the Four Noble Truths. So taking suffering as a focus, the Four Noble Truths are the acknowledgement that there is suffering on this earth. Then next thing is that there is a cause, there's a reason for this suffering. And the number three is that the reason for suffering is attachment. It's our ego, it's our desire. That is what causes suffering. And then the fourth truth was called there is a path to overcome our suffering, and it was called the Noble Eightfold Pathway, or the middle path. And that has, first of all, one of the practices that it promoted was a focus, practice of mindfulness meditation, to quiet our mind, to put things in perspective, so we can have right understanding of and right views of the nature of life. The fact that we are one with nature comes about as a result of our meditation practice, because when I sit and meditate and I inquire into where this breath is coming from, it's coming from a tree, it's coming from this water, from the ocean. And when I breathe out, it the carbon dioxide is food for the tree. So I am intrinsically a part and parcel of the nature of life. So all of that then gives me a better understanding of the limitations of the material world, for instance, because we are at the end of the day part of nature. So the right understanding is the other part of the Noble Eightfold Pathway, and then with right understanding, then we can have our behavior in a certain way, ethical living, right livelihood, right speech, and all of those things become part of the for whole Noble Eightfold Pathway. So it's a way of life, and one of the other things that was very impressionable for me was through a discourse called the Kalama Sutta that the Buddha gave. Buddha said, "Look, don't take my word for it. This is the path that I took, and you can use this as a guide, but get into your own practice and find out for yourself your own truth. Find out for yourself your own path towards spirituality and moving away from desire to a space of enlightenment." So for me, so the whole Buddhist teaching has been a foundation in the way I live, but I still live in the material world. So and I'm married, I have kids. So all of those tensions are there. Then in finding that balance, in finding the flow, because I'm not a monk, and I don't think I'm cut out to be a monk now, but perhaps as Buddhists do believe in a next life, perhaps in the next life I might be a monk, but but again I have no proof of that either. So for now, even to say that, but to say that is the practice of meditation and mindfulness then accompanies a whole range of other things of the way I need to live with loving kindness, compassion, empathy, and sympathetic joy that may then enable me to reach a place of equanimity. So again, then just to talk about those four practices, metta is loving kindness, to be loving and kind towards myself, to others around me, all sentient beings, being loving and kind to nature around me. So that's metta. And number two is compassion. That's karuna. Karuna is a compassion that I have to have towards myself for my own imperfections, to understand myself and others imperfections, and the fact that this is not a perfect world. So that is karuna. And then the third one is a really important one for the modern world. It's called mudita, which is sympathetic or appreciative joy, to really genuinely appreciate somebody else's success. When we are living in a competitive world, one of the biggest issues that we have is envy and jealousy. So this is the antidote to envy and jealousy. If we can acknowledge our envy and jealous feelings, which is very natural to us when we are living in a competitive world, we can then focus on it and then deal with it in a mindful, open-minded way. And what Buddha said was, if we can live in with these three things in metta, karuna, mudita, we can have equanimity, which is upekkha. We can have a balanced life. We can get in the flow. We can have contentment and happiness and joy. So I thought I'll give you a quick lesson on so this is my own interpretation of the Buddhist teachings and how I have been influenced and how I'll continue to live to this date. And then I'm sharing this knowledge with you. So until next time, be well, be happy.